I actually knew SEIU before I was in politics because I had originally moved to Chicago to be a community organizer. I had decided that somehow I wanted to help mobilize ordinary folks to do extraordinary things. And I wanted to build power from the ground up as opposed to the top down. So when I got out of college, I was working with a group of churches on the far south side of Chicago on a whole host of issues because these communities had been devastated by the steel plants that had closed. There had been racial turnover in the community. There was a lot of ferment and unrest. And during the course of my organizing, I started bumping into some folks from a union that I wasn't that familiar with at the time, Local 880. They were all throughout Englewood and all throughout the communities representing home health care workers. And when I started meeting the leadership and seeing the modesty, but the determination with which they were asserting their dignity, then I realized that these were the kinds of folks that I wanted to ally myself to. That alliance continued when I came back from law school and I ran a project called Project Vote to help Bill Clinton and Carol Moseley Braun get elected. And we helped to register thousands of new voters all throughout the south side and west sides of Chicago. And when I ran for the Illinois legislature, SEIU was a valued ally in that process. So when I come here, I feel like I'm coming home. And the reason I mention that, I think, is because the values that I've brought to politics are rooted in the values that I think most of you bring as folks who are organizing each and every day in the various states and various locals in which you operate. But the test ultimately is going to be who's willing to stand with you when it's tough. Who's willing to stand with you when it's not popular? Who's willing to go with you on the picket lines at a time when there's some risks involved? Who's willing to stand up against a war when it's popular? Not to stand up against a war when it has become unpopular. If we don't have that kind of leadership, then we're going to see more of the same. And we don't need more of the same. We need transformation and we need renewal. And when I think about, as a young organizer working with Local 880, and seeing people who were cleaning out folks' bedpans and caring for the elderly, and the sacrifices they'd made for their children and their grandchildren, that inspires me to transform this country. It's that dignity and respect of people who are doing hard work each and every day in America that I want to stand up for.